What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 64th episode of the Balanced Business Podcast. I got Larissa, Justine, and myself, Nico, here. Team, happy Friday. How are we doing?
Happy Friday.
Doing good. Larissa, no Starbucks today? Oh, okay. It was high.
Don't want to disappoint. Yeah, of course. I've got my nice little chai tea and I ate breakfast first. So no tummy ache so far. We'll see.
Wow, making moves. I like it.
Love it. Love it. So, Justine, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're talking about how to make lead management easier by using automation. So if a business has a ton of leads coming in, how to make it easier to make sure each of those leads gets addressed and gets messaged. So today we're going to talk about the different lead sources and how businesses can better manage them by using automation. So Larissa, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, of course. So I'm going to be doing a lot of talking today. So if you get tired of my voice, sorry in advance. There's a bunch of different ways leads can come in. I'm going to talk a lot about both paid and organic methods. So when I'm talking about paid, I mean ads, right? You're running an ad saying, hey, I have this offer, either fill out this form, send us a message, whatever it is you want to do to be able to get that lead to take the next step. That's typically the call to action is do this next thing. Oftentimes it's go to this web page, fill out this form, send us a message, whatever that might look like. So getting all of those leads from those ads is really important, especially when you consider that you're never going to be able to get every person to do that particular action you've asked them to do. So for example, if you are running a Facebook ad with a Facebook lead form, that's probably one of the more common ones that a lot of people will experience. So if you're running ads like that, I'm sure you've experienced the really, really fun pieces of where all of these leads, they don't fill out the freaking form, but they will reply and they'll be like, oh, I'm interested. So obviously that's a lead you don't want to miss, but you want to make sure you're getting all of those captured as well. So that's just kind of a quick scenario. Sometimes they'll message you, sometimes they'll comment, sometimes they'll maybe interact positively, but not explicitly say that they're interested. There's a bunch of different ways that people could interact with paid media that could mean if you're not handling each of those methods, you're leaving leads on the table. So with that, I'll take it kind of from a high level with the paid ads. So you have your lead form. You want to make sure that lead form is synced to whatever CRM you're using. That's simple enough. Most CRMs will be able to sync directly with Facebook lead forms. If not, Facebook lead forms can sync directly through Zapier, so you can get them into your CRM. That's one of the most important things. And one thing we'll talk a lot about here is what's called speed to lead, meaning you want to be able to contact a lead as quickly as possible to make sure they don't get left, right? Because when somebody replies to an ad, they're interested right now. If you contact them, let's say a week from that date, they just might not be interested anymore. You want to make sure you get them while they're hot leads. So having what's called speed to lead is really important. Speed to lead just means that person gets a message from you confirming and indicating their interest within 5 minutes of taking that action, whatever that might be. So somebody fills out a form, you don't want them just sitting there for a week. You want them texted immediately, emailed immediately, whatever that next best sequence action is, you want to make sure you're doing that. Typically, you can automate that through your CRM. So in terms of making sure these leads don't get lost, picture this. Lead form filled out. Client goes to CRM adds to whatever workflow the CRM can do, ideally maybe texting or emails. We typically see the best results with texting because people just have their phones in front of them. That's likely how they filled out the form. So add to workflow, text them right away. That's kind of the simplest piece of it. Then manage those conversations moving forward, but that makes sure everybody gets into an inbox where you can access it really easily, make sure they're not getting lost, and that lead gets communication from your team almost immediately after filling out that form. You can do much more complex workflows, questions automatically. That all depends on your business, what you're doing, your preferences, all of that. The most important thing is that a lead gets reached out to directly from your team almost immediately. That's a really important step. So we have that, right? That's going to be kind of the basic. That's what most people get to when they fill out or when they create these sort of things. If you have a CRM, even more advanced companies that we work with, they have that piece of lead fills out form, get added to CRM, potentially CRM, and hopefully adds them to a workflow that is going to automatically message them.
No, I was just gonna say, like, Larissa, you kind of brushed past like what is a CRM even?
We'll talk a little bit more about CRMs later and options maybe we recommend. CRM is customer relationship manager. Basically, think of it as your inbox. Ideally, it's your inbox and it's your record of all the contacts you have. Can be used essentially as an address book. Some CRMs have a lot of built-in functionality, like, you can send invoices through some, or you can do billing, or you can send all kinds of different communication, maybe from text, phone, voicemail, email. Every CRM is going to have their own suite of options. But you're right, I did kind of brush past that. CRM, customer relationship manager. You want to put all your leads into a single place you can access and you can manage. And if you're cheap, you can use something as simple as a spreadsheet. Just push them into Google Sheets using Zapier. Not necessarily the recommended version because it's still somewhat easy to lose those, but at least you have a single database of every single lead that comes in. So aside from direct ad responses, the people who took the action you wanted them to take, then you have to deal with all the people who didn't take the action you wanted them to take. So I'll continue on the Facebook example just because it's, probably one of the more common ad platforms, and this can apply for basically every ad platform. You're always going to have these multiple sources, and you should always have plans to mitigate them. But aside from the people who are interested but didn't take the exact option, on Facebook, a couple common ways that leads may express that interest would be maybe through a message or a comment. So that's super fun and super great that they're expressing interest. It means your per lead cost is actually lower than what's going to show in the back end of your ad manager. And that's really good. You want to make sure you're capturing those leads. The question is how. I recommend comment moderation tools to make it really, really easy for you. One thing you have to look out for is a lot of comment moderation tools cannot solve this problem for ads comments, which on paid media, that's kind of a really important piece. If you're looking for comment moderation tools to kind of automate these pieces, definitely look for one that can do ad comments. We personally use Napoli and Cat. They have good pricing. They are really effective. So what you want to do with those people, you basically want to be searching for a list of keywords that somebody would say, basically, I'm interested. It does help sometimes, you want to kind of think outside the box and keep a really close eye on all comments coming in to make sure you're capturing everybody, so that when somebody comments on your ad, they didn't take the action they were supposed to say, then you should have some comment moderation set up to be able to reply to that comment directly. We typically do reply to the comment publicly and then automatically send them a message asking for the best phone number or email or whatever piece of information you need to be able to take that next step.
What if someone has a super specific comment that doesn't fit the automatic response? Like, how do you handle that?
Well, you're going to get a lot of those. I mean, manual comment moderation doesn't go away. Ideally, the whole reason we're going to use automation in this particular piece is for what I talked about earlier, speed to lead. As soon as somebody says they're interested, you want to make sure that they get reached out to right away. If they have a more complex question, obviously the automation is not going to be able to pick up on that. Like if they're going to say, I don't know, something really crazy like, oh, I have this particular house and I can't use X thing, like what would you recommend for me? Or, how do you deal with drainage in this particular exact scenario? Like you're not going to be able to build automation to fix all of those. You can't build automation to take care of 100% of comments, as convenient as that would be. And you should definitely always be looking at them anyway. But you can't all the ones quickly who are just commenting to express their interest, and you just want to take them to the next step as quickly as possible.
This is something that it's kind of like a version 2, but start documenting the responses, right? So like if someone says, "Hey, does this do drainage or the well with drainage?" and you do typically like there's context around it, but you can start saving those replies so that you, even though you can't automate it 100%, you have to start building a database that can then fill into your content as well in the future. But that's the only thing I would potentially add to that is like this is feedback from potential customers.
Yeah, building out a list of FAQs aside from people saying, yes, I'm interested, that is really important. And there are some things you can definitely, like, there are questions everybody is going to get a lot, right? So for example, if you're a landscaping company, you're probably going to get a lot of questions about drainage. You're going to get a lot of questions about like, can my dog be on this? Like, there's going to be a lot of those particular types of pieces, and people are going to ask all sorts of things. So you can be, if you're very thoughtful about how you do it, you can set up automatic responses for particular like FAQs, basically. Trickier to do, again, because they often do provide a little bit more context that may change how you respond. So automate with caution on your FAQs, but it can be done, especially if it's a really common question that you get. And it just, it takes a piece off of your plate. And that's one thing that, whenever we set up automation, that's the big thing we want to do. We want to make sure like this action has to be done, and either somebody has to do it or a robot can do it. And it's one of those two things. And if the robot can do it well, take that piece off your plate, have the automation do it. The next piece that often, people are going to get is a lot of people may see your ad and just message you directly. So they'll see it, but maybe they have some more questions or whatnot. You can automate those responses somewhat as well. A lot of platforms, and I'll use Facebook and Instagram as an example, because in the Meta Business Suite, you can actually set up FAQs, automated responses, all those types of things in your messaging in Facebook Business Manager. So I'll use that as an example just because it's a really easy resource that's free there, where if you have a business page, it's free to you, it's free to use. You can also always look at those, those particular questions that they're asking and have pre-written responses out, which is nice because you can pre-write the question that they select, and then they click it, and then they'll get the response you've already written if there's something that they may be thinking about already. I personally like to structure these in such a way that it still pushes them towards that next step for basically any client of ours that we've experienced, at least, and this could definitely change for different types of business. Email can sometimes be optional, but pretty much always at least name and phone. So those are the pieces where if somebody is maybe asking you like, hey, I have a question about drainage, your response to those can always be, great, would definitely love to get on a call and get a little bit more around this. What's the best phone number for you? Then you get that phone number and move them to the next step. One way to really capture a lot of those particular individuals who come through Messenger and make sure that those get picked up as well. A lot of CRMs have the ability to integrate directly into your inbox in a lot of these social media platforms. Facebook and TikTok are pretty common ones. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, those are probably the big ones people receive messages on. And I think Twitter as well, being able to automate Twitter DMs essentially. But one thing to look for in those is whatever they give you that particular piece of info that you need. Let's say it's a phone number. When they give you that piece of info you need, ideally you have a CRM that can detect this person came through Messenger, they didn't have a phone number before, they sent a message, now they have a phone number. Now I add them to my workflow to get that first message sent to them. That's kind of a really basic structure. You can put that in a bunch of different ways, and you can apply a bunch of different like triggers essentially to it, but that's a big way to handle those particular kinds of people. Then you're going to have people who are interested, but just not ready right now. Those are ones, like, I wouldn't consider them hot leads. They don't necessarily need to demand 100% of your attention. They're not, the speed to lead aspect is not quite as important if they say, oh, I'm just kind of pricing this out. I want to, I'm interested in maybe doing this project in like 2 to 3 months, but I'm just not ready to like pull the trigger on it right now. And, that's okay. Everybody does that. People want to be thoughtful about the purchase they make, especially when it comes to something maybe they've seen, but haven't completely vetted or haven't worked out exactly how that would work for them. Those ones, it's important to see people who are interested but aren't ready right now. It is important to see, why they're not ready right now. So understanding, like, are you not ready right now because of pricing? And kind of see, like, what is going on in their head that they're saying yes but no. If they're saying yes but no because of pricing, depending on the business you have, you may be able to offer some financing to get that, again, speed. If somebody's interested, you want to get them like signing
phone
off
call.
contract
Yeah.
as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they're interested, but maybe it's pricing that's the issue, you can maybe go in about warranties or financing or anything like that. If they're interested, but they're just really in the research phase, you can always send them maybe some resources that can help maybe push them over the edge to be ready. Or these are also a really good list of people that you can run promos to. So if you have people who are interested but not ready right now, maybe you know, use a time sensitive promo to push them over the edge. Something like, oh, hey, yeah, that's totally fine. You're not interested right now. However, if you are interested right now and now is an okay time, we actually do have this limited time deal that's only going to be active for the next 2 days. And we only have one voucher left. So if you're interested, you may want to reconsider your timeline just because we have this particular deal that you're not going to see again. That's something that you can always use to push those people over the edge. Again, you can use a lot of automation for those, and I do recommend heavily utilizing a CRM for this. This is something that really is going to require a manual step of somebody to say, I'm interested, just not right now. And you want to add them into basically a longer term workflow or sequence, just something to keep them warm. And then when they are ready to pull the trigger, hopefully they go with you. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of organic lead sources as well. So we just talked about all the paid ones, people who are going to come from an ad in one way or another. Now, a lot of those pieces that I mentioned are also going to apply to comments. Let's say you do just a general social post. It doesn't have any paid media behind it. You're just posting on social media. Somebody can still comment all these things. They can still comment on the social posts that like, hey, I'm interested, or hey, this looks really great. Could you give me a call? Those kinds of things. You still want to make sure you're keeping all those organic comments, organic leads top of mind, and make sure you're moderating those as well to get all of those that are ready into the buying phase. And some people are going to come from other methods too. I mean, your website, SEO is important to make sure that you show up at the top of search. If somebody is really interested in, let's say they want to get drainage installed in their backyard, right? They're going to search drainage installer in city name. That's probably the first thing they're going to do. They're going to Google it. Like that's how people in this day and age interact with, kind of the internet and utilize the internet to make their own lives easier. They don't want to go through the phone book and call all these individual people. Realistically, they want to Google it. They want to see somebody who has reviews and who looks credible enough, and they're going to make that decision quickly. Oftentimes, they're not going to go through the top 4 providers and, double check all these things. Ideally, you want to be first. So that is another really good way to be able to get leads. Oftentimes, if you're utilizing SEO to get to the top of the search list, then you need to make sure that all those leads come back to one of your other funnels that you already have set up. And maybe that's to your website. Maybe your website has a contact us now page that puts them through this some type of workflow. Maybe it also has a website widget that people can chat with you real time and kind of get some info. There's a bunch of different ways you can do that. You can also, one thing people don't know, but you can do, you can connect with leads via Google My Business. So some options, and I'll go back to the example. If you Google drainage expert I live in Tempe, Arizona, so in Tempe, Arizona, then somebody could come up and maybe they'll have a little button under their Google profile that you're often going to see on the right-hand side of the Google search. Maybe you'll see a button on there that says message. You can message people directly through Google. If you show up and that's what's going to come up, you can message them directly through there. A lot of CRMs are going to connect with that Google My Business Messenger as well. So one other way, just, if you want to make sure you're really hitting the top of the search, you're being as accessible as possible, that is another way for leads to come in, and you don't want to miss those either. I think that's pretty much all the lead sources. I don't know if you guys have any other lead sources that maybe I missed, or any questions on any of those.
Not necessarily. I just kind of going back to the content side, right? So if one thing to do is also like not everyone's going to convert, so like setting up a separate sequence for people who didn't buy for whatever reason. just to keep following up with them over time. I mean, it practically costs you nothing to do, and the yield can be amazing. So that's the only thing I would potentially add there.
Yeah, having more of like a long-term, maybe more educational nurture sense is super helpful. And just stay top of mind. That's really important. And ideally, you use automation to just, when people meet whatever criteria to be in that bucket, you put them in the bucket and they get all the messages sent to them automatically. Those are the types of things you definitely want to do. Because again, it takes things off of your plate. One of the things people fall short with is like they get leads in, that's great, and then they don't follow up with them, or they don't reach out to them quick enough, or whatever might happen. You want to mitigate all of those human errors you can make, and you probably do make. Everybody makes these mistakes, and put them into a system that's not going to let you forget. That's not going to let you miss out on opportunity that way. So, I mean, those are different lead sources. Let's talk a little bit more about like a CRM and what CRMs are really great to use, which CRMs are not. First, if you have any questions on CRMs or you're looking for a CRM, reach out to us, because we actually have our own CRM that you can use, and it can do all these things, can integrate with all these platforms, and you can do a lot through it. So if you're interested in something that can do all of these pieces plus a billion things more, and others are, there's a ton that you can use. It all is going to depend on the capacity and capability that you need. So I know that a lot of really common ones would be like HubSpot is really popular. HubSpot has a lot of this automation capability, can integrate with all these platforms. There are some downfalls where HubSpot itself can't do comment moderation, can't do a lot of these other things. And you may have to actually use multiple tools to get all these pieces done. You definitely want to consider your budget when it comes to all of these. Some CRMs can be incredibly expensive. The super expensive ones often have a pretty great value stack in them, which is nice. But when looking and shopping for a CRM, there's a few things you definitely want. And most, I don't know that most, but a lot of CRMs have these, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. So you want something that has automation capability to do what I was just talking about. The automation capability to send either emails, texts, phone, voice, whatever is most appropriate for your business. You want something that can communicate on your behalf. That's really important. You also ideally want something that has good integration capability, meaning if a CRM cannot meet every single one of your business needs, that's not crazy. You might have really unique needs for your business. So you want to make sure all of those needs can be met somewhere. If they can't be met within your CRM should be able to talk to all the tools you need. Typically, if it has a Zapier integration, you're fine. Zapier is going to integrate into like 125,000 apps or something like that. It'll probably integrate into whatever else you need, for example, like QuickBooks or, maybe invoicing software, Stripe, whatever it is that you need for your business. If it has a Zapier integration, you're probably okay on the integration side, and you can do it that way. Keep in mind, Zapier is a paid service, but it's not incredibly expensive, and it's certainly worth it to have. If it also has Make or formerly Integromat, either of those two, you're also probably good. That integrates with most tools. Other things you want to make sure your CRMs can do. I mean, the automatic messaging and follow-up sequence is definitely the most important, but you want to make sure that you can tag and organize your leads in such a way that you, know where all of them came from, because that's really important to know. If 90% of your leads are coming from Facebook, for example, you might want to put more money into Facebook because you see that it's working. Or if maybe 90% of your leads are coming from Facebook, maybe you want to put money into other sources so you have a more diverse lead flow. There's a lot of different reasons, but you can't make those kind of decisions without having good understanding of where the leads came from, when they were generated, who they're assigned to, depending on your business. You might need something that can accommodate multiple users. Users are something that's oftentimes going to really drive up the cost of your CRM. Or maybe the CRM pricing looks a little too good to be true. Make sure to double check the number of users that it allows you to have, and if there are additional fees per additional user. Oftentimes there are. And sometimes you'll have to use multiple tools that don't integrate together, which sucks, but it is what it is. Sometimes you need to use tools and kind of figure out how to use them together so that all of these people, again, don't get lost, but still get the appropriate messaging sent back to them. So that's another piece to just kind of keep in mind. if your comment moderation tool can't integrate with your CRM, maybe your CRM needs to be able to just pick up any information that might come in as a result of your comment moderation, and you need to be able to accommodate for that without being able to directly link them. That all comes down to the messaging you send and whatnot, and what particular fields you need. But in terms of CRMs, most are going to do 95% of what you need to do. It's an address book, it's a communication tool. I like CRMs that have a universal inbox feature, so you only have to look one place for all your leads. It's another way leads often get lost is if you're texting them on your phone, but you're also emailing and you've just got all these different places to look. It's easy to lose leads that way. So I think those are all the big pieces in terms of CRMs, in terms of lead sources. Automation can be used in any number of ways to make the most of them, but the big thing is identify all your lead sources, all the ways leads could be coming in, and create solutions to mitigate them at each step of those lead sources.
But no, the last closing thing I'll say is like, the best thing you can do is pick one thing, right? One aspect. Maybe it's on how you manage clients or how you get new clients, because automation done poorly can actually cause more harm. So definitely pick small things at a time. Maybe it's how you get reviews or how you follow up with leads, whatever it is, just focus on that, get it right, and then move on to something. Don't try to do like 20 different projects at a time, because then honestly, you're going to cause more of a headache for yourself than anything else. So that's the only feedback I'll have with that, is just make sure that you're picking the right things and the things that really move the needle. But with that being said, if you guys have any follow-up questions or want to learn about CRM that we created, just email us at nico@boundlessmedia.com. We're Get Boundless all over, and we appreciate you for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.